No indigenous Chillins remains found after $8 million search in Canada. Yeah, we've covered this story a few times. You know, the hate crime hoax about alleged mass graves found at certain schools in Canada that ended up being literally nothing. It was either a blip in the system somewhere, or it detected like just some natural air pockets or whatever. $8 million, multiple fiery but mostly peaceful protests later, and it's still a hoax. And see, you know what's really embarrassing here? If they had found even one body, they would have they could have justified this entire thing. Yeah, they were claiming hundreds of unmarked graves. People would have, like, if they found like a single bone, the goalpost could have immediately been moved. Everyone would have forgotten that they said there were going to be hundreds, and would have restoked the outrage again. They can't find a single fucking one. Yeah, I think everyone who blindly fell for this outrage and started fanning the flames, they all need to be held criminally liable. This $8 million needs to come from their pockets. The hoaxers and those who supported them need to foot this bill. This has been a scandal in Canada for years, with Prime Minister Blackface Hitler fully buying in and wringing his hands over the whole thing. The horror was the discovery of hundreds of unmarked Indigenous Chillins graves at a school site. Except that was all a hoax. Blackface Hitler participated in that hoax. He should be held accountable. Absolutely. However, after burning $8 million and dozens of Canadian or Christian churches, no remains have been found. Time for some criminal prosecution, man. Unless there's a price to pay, this is just going to keep happening, man. So the Western Standard reports in current year -3, the current year -3 funding was designated to document the heartbreaking truth about unmarked burials at residential schools, as outlined in a current year -2 department briefing note. Despite this, no tangible progress has been made, leaving the fate of the allocated funds undisclosed. The announcement of the discovery of 215 Chillins graves at the Kamloops residential school site by the First Nation in current year -3 prompted an international outcry. Now, my question is, do you guys think there's an upper limit to this? Do you guys think it's possible to ever hit peak hoax, where the vast majority of the population just stops responding to these hoaxes? Like, as soon as someone tries one of these hoaxes, people will just be like, okay, where's the proof? Do you think that'll ever happen? Because I'm starting to think that there's no limit to human stupidity. Einstein may have been right about that. However, despite this revelation, no remains have been recovered to date. Oh, that obviously means that there's a cover-up. Oh, yeah, the remains were totally there, but someone just took them and hid them. Oh, they just moved them. The government's response, including lowering the Peace Tower flag for 161 days, now allocating $3.1 million for a national residential school student death register, and earmarking $238.8 million for residential schools missing children's community support. Which expires in current year +1. Prime Minister Blackface Hitler previously highlighted the significance of acknowledging the present-day impact of residential schools, stating what happened decades ago isn't part of our history, it's an irrefutable part of our present. The hoaxing definitely is. I always leave it to a Blackface Hitler to virtue signal and to always be wrong. Yeah, how about all the churches that were burned in response to this? I'm sure a public apology is right around the corner. Man, no, fuck just an apology. They need to be held financially and criminally liable for this shit. 80 churches in Canada were burned down over a lie that hundreds of Indigenous Chillins were Minecrafted and put in mass graves in Canada. Decades ago, mind you. Yeah, you totally got to take it out on people today. Yeah. Yeah, what was it? Something, sins of the father, something. Oh, yeah, but that comes from an old 2,000-year-old book that no one reads anymore, and no one cares about that shit. There's no useful morals or stories in there for current year. Nah. The evil colonizer trope had to be pushed with zero evidence. It was a media-driven lie, yet they face no consequences for it. Yeah, dude, the media, they're the primary culprit. They were the ones that were fanning the flames the most. All right, so where do churches go to get their reputation back now that dead indigenous chillins are buried underneath them has been embedded into the national psyche? Yeah, the media needs to now put just as much emphasis on reporting the hoax. Yeah, over 80 churches in Canada have been burned or vandalized since current year -3 as revenge for mass graves of Indigenous chillins. Blackface Hitler spent millions to excavate those Indigenous bodies buried by the church. Turns out not a single body was found. What a coincidence there. Yeah, it was all anti-Christian blood libel. Yeah. The mass religious hate crime was perpetrated on the Christians of Canada by their government and the press. But in pulpits across America, the only warnings you will hear about would be about Christian nationalism or the dangers of holding political power. Yeah, this is in a way it's related to what's happening on college campuses right now. So they've been manufacturing fake Nazis on the right, and they were focusing solely on the fake Nazis they manufactured. They didn't even notice the real Nazis among their own ranks. And now that the far left is eating itself alive over the Israel and Palestine thing, for whatever reason, like I don't really see the left calling the pro-Palestine protesters Nazis. I can guarantee you if it was any of these evil alt-right Christians that were protesting against the tiny hats, they'd be getting called Nazis immediately. So what did the First Nation do with the money? Remains tight-lipped about the utilization of funds. If I were to guess, I would say they did the same thing as Burn, Loot, Murder did with the money they got in the U.S. That's where my money is. So look into the leaders of the First Nations and see if any of them have shiny new mansions. This is one of the greatest and most destructive hoaxes in history. Not a single person will be held accountable for it. None of the people who pushed the hoax will even apologize. Nothing will happen. Well, I kind of disagree. There's a little bit of a silver lining here. Little bit of a white pill. At least when it comes to the media. Have you seen how horrible the media is doing right now financially? They are dying. These media outlets are being shut down left and right. All these agenda pushers are losing their jobs in the thousands. Yeah, sure. Maybe none of these hoax pushers will be punished for this hoax in particular. But they're going to end up unemployed and unemployable because nobody wants to hire a known activist. So yeah, karma will come for them in the end. And when an alleged site of a mass grave was excavated because ground penetrating radar found anomalies, it turned out to be, wait for it, rocks. That's right. 0 bodies, not a single bone, just rocks. Well, obviously, those rocks are just the bones of the golem indigenous peoples. So when does Blackface Hitler spend millions rebuilding the churches? When is Blackface Hitler confronted with the truth? The people need to demand their churches back. Yeah. And the media was spreading these lies, they need to be the ones to pay for it. I'm waiting for a journalist to ask Blackface Hitler about it, but they've most likely all been told they'll be fired or blacklisted for asking. Yeah, even if they haven't been told, it's an unwritten rule. So were any of the indigenous people prosecuted and jailed for the heinous crimes against Christians? Imagine if Christians had done this to the indigenous people, what would have happened to them? Blackface Hitler's letting indigenous terrorists steamroll him and the Canadian people. Yeah, no lies detected. So surely one would confirm any bodies before making such announcements. If it was just one death, that is what would occur. But if you have hundreds or thousands, apparently no confirmation is first required. So the bigger the exaggeration, the less one is required to confirm it. Yeah, that's what Carl Sagan had that line, like extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence. Maybe people should wait for that extraordinary evidence before they believe any of these extraordinary claims. Hey, Blackface Hitler, there's something under my table that's making it wobble slightly. I'm worried it might be the mass grave of indigenous chillins. Could you come over and cry over my table and then give me $8 million to research the problem? Now, this guy's smart. Yeah, this is a good plan. So even on churches that were not burned or vandalized, people started placing chillins' shoes on the steps as a sign of protest, and the churches left them there for months. Yeah, pretty sure we're up to 97 churches. Yeah, it's not 80 anymore, huh? It was never about finding anything. It was always just another liberal lie to distract, create division, and demoralize Canadians, burn our churches. Laundering more Canadians' money to the pockets was just an added perk. Soros is proud of his soldiers. Yeah, this guy's also dead on. That was the plan. So look up the Lighton wildfire church arson that burned the whole town down in Minecraft at 2 people. They blamed it on a train for about a year until one of the victims tried to sue the rail company. Then the narrative had to change. Yeah. Oh God, that story right there. Holy shit. Yeah. They tried to pin the blame on the train company. So obviously the families of the victims. Yeah, okay. So if they're responsible, we're going to sue them. At that point, the train company was like, "Nuh-uh, man, we're not going to be financially liable for this." They probably provided evidence it wasn't them. And then suddenly the story just immediately changed. Man, if the government was smart, they would have paid the victims to shut up. They would have paid them to go away. And they could have still been running with that lie. Blackface Hitler even managed to make a federal holiday, National Reconciliation Day, based on this national shame. Yeah, you could still keep the holiday. You're just going to have to rework it to be about reconciling with these fucking lies. How about that?